Hello, stampers. This is Yana Smakula for My Favorite Things. Welcome back for another video tutorial. In this video, I'm creating an interactive birthday card using the My Favorite Things Little Rascal stamp set. This is the type of an interactive card where you don't need any additional supplies. You can make it using the products you already have in your stash. Now, this card features a mini card on the front of it with an additional hidden message. It is super easy to make, and it just adds a cool wow effect to your finished project. As always, we're going to start working on this project by doing some stamping. I'm using the super cute raccoon images from the Little Rascal stamp set from My Favorite Things, and I'm stamping 2 raccoons and also little grass images onto a piece of white cardstock. This is Nina Solar White 80 pounds. I'm using my Mini Misty stamping tool as usual and stamping these images in alcohol marker friendly ink as I will be doing some basic Copic coloring. And here we have our cute images stamped and ready to be colored. I particularly love to color raccoons as they're so easy to color. You basically just need a few gray markers and then maybe a pink marker to add some blush and you're done. I used the C10, C7, C5, C3, and also C1 Copic markers. So lots and lots of cool gray markers to color these rascals. And as you can see, I started by adding the dark, deep shadows to the areas that looked darkest to me. And then I moved on to the lighter colors, carefully fading the dark gray into the light gray. I basically just wanted to add a little bit of dimension to these. Now, I didn't color their faces and their bellies as I wanted to keep the face white, aside from the coloring that they have around their eyes. So keep the face white. And I also did not color the belly as I wanted to color that pink. Not your typical raccoon coloring, but it's paper crafting, I can have a raccoon with a pink belly. I then used the RV00 marker, which is the lightest pink that I have in my stash, and I colored the inside of the ears. I added blush to their cheeks, and I also colored the bellies pink. Now, I also came in with a colorless blender and I faded that pink coloring on the bellies. I faded that out into white. So it's not all completely pink, but it has a little bit of a pink outline. As for the grass, I just used the YG17 and YG03 to turn it green. So super simple. And besides, this image is so tiny, you really don't have a lot of room to do much blending. I then used coordinating dies and cut my cuties out. Next, let's do a sentiment for this card. So I used a sheet of black cardstock. I treated it with an anti-static powder tool, and I stamped one of the sentiments from this set. And my sentiment reads, "Happy birthday, you little rascal." I stamped it in clear embossing ink. I added detail white embossing powder on top, and then I heat set it using my heat tool. I still love doing the white embossing powder on black cardstock. I love doing these type of sentiments. They just always pop and they immediately draw attention. Plus, I already have a lot of gray on my raccoons, so adding a black sentiment sort of ties it all together. I trimmed this sentiment into a smaller rectangle to later pop onto my card. Okay, moving on. Now, I wanted to add that interactive element to my card, and I decided that was very easy to do by adding a simple shape onto the front of my card, a shape that would open. So think about it as adding a mini card on the front of your regular card size. I decided I wanted to use a circle die, and I die cut a mini circle card base, so it has a little fold, and the circle shape opens up. I also die cut another circle, which is a full circle, because the circle card base is not entirely a full circle since there's a fold there that ate away part of the circle. So I have a complete full circle die cut to adhere on top of my circle card base to cover up the fold. You can have your shape open in any direction. It can open to the top, to the side, to the bottom, wherever you prefer. You can also have any other shape. It doesn't have to be a circle. It can be a star. It can be a heart. It can be a rectangle. It can be an oval. whatever you want, whatever makes sense for your card. So I opened the shape up and I taped it onto my grid mat. And I needed to do that to be able to stamp a sentiment on the inside of my card. And I needed to make sure that I would stamp it straight because it's a circle. It's kind of hard to align things on a circle when you have a fold. It's very easy to mess up. So this sentiment reads, "You are the best partner in crime," and it basically continues the sentiment from the outside of the card to the inside. And I stamped this in VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is usually my favorite black ink for sentiment stamping. And this is what it looks like. Now I just need to adhere my full die cut circle on the front of my mini circle card base. And I'm doing that using my favorite Barely Arts glue. Next, I need to tape this element onto my grid mat once again, as I am now foam mounting the heat embossed sentiment panel. And again, I want to make sure that it is foam mounted straight onto my card, that when I open my mini circle card base, everything is straight. The sentiment on the inside and then the sentiment on the outside, they're all aligned and straight. Each element, except for the grass, is going to be foam mounted, and the grass will be adhered using glue. I just don't want to pop it up. So you can use this design idea with other products you have in your stash. Maybe you have some other critters or florals or something like that. The key here, I think, is to have a two-part message, a two-part sentiment. A sentiment that you can stamp one part on the front and then have the sentiment continue on the inside of your mini card. The mini card does open very easily. There's no secret hidden mechanism, nothing for the recipient to figure out, nothing for them to pull. So they will be able to open it up very easily and see that second part of the sentiment easily. Okay, next I worked on the background for this card, and I wanted to have a raccoon background, to continue my raccoon theme. I didn't have a raccoon background stamp, so I created my own custom background using the same images, the same raccoon images, plus some other raccoon images from my stamp set. And it's very easy to do. So I did the stamping using watermark ink or watermark embossing ink. And this gave me a very faint, pale, tone-on-tone stamping, which is just perfect. And it was exactly what I was looking for to have on this card. Now, I also tried stamping this background in a light gray ink at first, but I really did not like it. It wasn't perfect. It was a little bit uneven. So I did this watermark stamping instead, and I love the way it turned out. I know you can't really see much of it on camera, but it does show up nicely in real life. And the way I did my stamping is I stamped each raccoon image one by one. I started in the center and I basically did a linear background, or a linear design. So I have several rows of raccoons stamped on the background. And that's how I filled the entire background for this card. I adhered my background to an A2 card base. Now, I also die cut a circle layer of fun foam. I used a slightly smaller circle die to cut the fun foam, and I used that to pop up my mini raccoon circle card onto my A2 card base. I used a T-square ruler, again, to make sure everything was adhered straight. And finally, I finished my card by adding a few sequins, and I just scattered them diagonally on my project. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this idea, and we'll give it a try. If you do, please share online and tag us on social media. We always love seeing what you guys are making. Subscribe now and do hit that bell icon not to miss any new card making tutorials. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.